All right, let's talk about sushi. Today, we're diving deep into the incredible and honestly pretty misunderstood history of a food we all think we know. It's a journey that goes back over 2,000 years, crosses continents, and changes in ways you would just never, ever expect. Okay, so let's just start with a bombshell, shall we? What if I told you that the most important part of modern sushi, the rice, was originally just, well, a packing material? Something that was thrown away completely. It sounds crazy, I know, but that's exactly where this story begins. And this slide really sums it all up. The original goal was simple: use fermenting rice to keep fish from spoiling for months on end. The rice was just a tool. Today, it's all about that perfect combination of fresh fish and seasoned rice. So, how on earth did we get from a preservation hack to a global delicacy? Well, that's the mystery we're about to solve. To find the answer, we have to go way, way back in time, and to a place you might not expect, a place that isn't even Japan. So let's pull back the curtain on sushi's secret origin. Everybody meet narazushi. This is basically the great-great-great-grandparent of the sushi you ate last week, and it was born out of pure necessity. You know, in the heat and humidity of Southeast Asia, you had to find a way to keep fish from going bad. The solution was brilliant. Pack it in cooked rice and salt, and let nature do the rest. The lactic acid from the fermentation preserved the fish. The rice? It just became a sour, inedible pickling agent. And you can literally trace this idea as it traveled across Asia. It all starts along the Mekong River. Then it makes its way to China, which is where we find the first written character for it, sa. Finally, around the 8th century, this preservation method lands in Japan. And that's where things get really interesting. Okay, so the technique has arrived in Japan, but let's be clear, it's still just a way to store fish for the long haul. Now we get to see how it started its long, slow transformation from a survival tactic into something you'd actually want to eat. This is so fascinating. Early on in ancient texts, there was this really key distinction. The character shi just meant any old salted fish. But sa, the character that came over from China, specifically meant fish that was fermented with rice. This tells us that even way back then, the role of the rice in the process was the defining feature. So in Japan, narazushi really takes on a life of its own. The most famous example, funazushi, is still made today, and it's like a direct link to this ancient past. It even had this deep spiritual meaning. A certain kind of loach sushi was given as an offering to the gods for over 1,000 years. But even with all that importance, the rice, which was now super pungent after fermenting for months or even years, was still just thrown away. For centuries, sushi stayed this way, a funky, heavily preserved food that took forever to make. And then, one single ingredient came along and changed absolutely everything. It put sushi on the fast track to what we know today. This was the vinegar revolution. You can really see the evolution happen in these 3 big leaps. First, you have the original narazushi. Eat the fish, toss the rice. Then, around the 15th century, people started to shorten the fermentation time. This created namanarasushi. The rice wasn't as pungent, so people started eating it with the fish. But the real game changer was hayasushi, or fast sushi. Someone had the genius idea to just add vinegar directly to the rice to get that sour taste, completely skipping the long wait for fermentation. And you really can't overstate how huge this was. Vinegar was the ultimate shortcut. It gave you that tart flavor and the preservative qualities of fermentation, but in a tiny fraction of the time. This single innovation is what turned sushi from a smelly, preserved food into something that could be made fresh and eaten on the very same day. So with this new fast sushi method, the stage was set for an absolute explosion in popularity. And our story now takes us to the crowded, bustling city of Edo, what we now call Tokyo, where sushi became the city's original fast food. And here's the man who often gets the credit, Hanaya Yohei. See, in the fast-paced world of 19th century Edo, people were busy. They needed quick, easy meals. So Yohei had this brilliant idea. Take the freshest seafood from the bay, press it onto a small ball of that newfangled vinegared rice, and serve it right there on the spot. He called it nigiri zushi, and people went crazy for it. You can almost hear the buzz of the city streets, can't you? This line comes from a popular song back then, and it just shows you how normal sushi had become. You had sellers walking the streets, singing to get customers. This wasn't fine dining. This was food for the people, on the go. But what were they actually eating? This part might surprise you. Forget about tuna for a second.
The undisputed king of Edo-style sushi was cooked shrimp. Other local catches like gizzard shad and shellfish were big too. And tuna, especially the fatty parts we pay so much for today, that was considered a low-class fish, something for the poor. Wow, how times have changed.
Okay, so sushi has totally conquered the streets of Edo. But how did it go from being a quick snack you eat while standing up to the refined restaurant experience we have today? Let's look at that final crucial transformation.
One of the biggest differences was just the sheer size. An Edo-era nigiri was huge. It was almost the size of an onigiri rice ball. You'd eat one or two and you'd be full. It was designed to be a substantial snack. The small, delicate two-piece serving that we're all used to now only really became the standard after World War II, as sushi started to become more of a refined meal.
And the shops themselves were different too. You had the yatai, the outdoor stalls. They were standing room only, all about speed. They even used these giant teacups so they wouldn't have to keep refilling them. Then you had the uchimise, the indoor shops, which were mainly for takeout and delivery. Over time, the indoor shops basically copied the counter setup from the stalls, added some seats, and boom, the modern sushi bar was born. So the next time you pick up a piece of nigiri, just take a second to look at it. You're not just eating fish and rice. You are holding the final product of a 2,000-year-long journey, from a preservation method in Southeast Asia to a sacred offering in ancient Japan, to a fast food for the masses in Edo, and finally to the global culinary art form it is today. It has never stopped changing. It's constantly adapting to new tastes, new ingredients, new cultures. And that just leaves us with one last really exciting question to think about. After coming all this way, what's the next step in sushi's incredible evolution?